you're listening to this episode, it means my voice has deserted me, or I've gone walkabout, or I'm unable to produce one this week. So without any further ado, from thistles to a veggie garden. When we moved into our current home, located on 5 easy care acres, we were confronted with 2.4 metre high thistles. The first spring I spent weeks with a shovel and a hoe, breaking the tap roots of the thistles while they were still in the rosette stage. I considered that thistles were the problem, and as tap roots were vital to their survival, I would kill the plants before they were able to produce seed. A month later I realised that the remainder of the tap roots were just throwing up more thistles. The following year, after reading an article on tumbleweeds in Scientific America, I decided that it would be best to allow the plants to grow almost to maturity and then attempt to destroy them before their seed matured, thereby rendering the seed useless. I held my nerve while all about were spraying and took to the thistles with a lawnmower as soon as I noticed the first seed heads starting to turn purple, an indication of the seed maturation process. It worked. We achieved about a 95% kill rate, and I followed this up over the next 2 springs with good effect. An added bonus from allowing thistles to grow on was that they opened the soil compacted by about 120 years of overgrazing and poor soil management. This resulted in greater pasture growth, and the eco-niche for the thistles, compacted bare soil, was removed from the system. It was while I was thinking about this that I realised thistles were not the problem but the symptom. The processes needed for weed control have since become more obvious, and no longer the problem they once were, in my mind anyway. I was converted to the idea of making everything work for the soil. No longer a sheep left in a paddock with collapsing feed, even if the next paddock has only marginally more feed. I move them on, then back again, and so on. This allows the pastures to recover enough to maintain the vital soil cover. In a drought, I can see we will have to destock completely, or buy in feed and house the stock to protect the soil. We have been better able to ride out the dry periods than many of our neighbours, who have been forced to utilise feed along the roadsides, or buy feed in, or worst of all, just kept on grazing, running down both stock and soil condition. We have developed a soil ethic. In a suburban situation, the application of the same principle of soil health first can be applied to producing, from the acres of lawns, vast tracts of healthy food-producing soil, while reducing water use and, more importantly, chemical and fuel consumption. After all, not everyone lives in the country. While we remain a highly suburbanised society, and I cannot see this changing, we will continue to chew through large amounts of fuel and chemicals on lawns. How often have we had to listen to complaints concerning lost weekends because of the garden, when really people are complaining about lawn mowing? Converting a lawn to a garden will not only reduce our national fuel consumption, but will provide anything from a few tomatoes up to 100% of our household fruit and vegetable needs, with more job satisfaction than pushing a mower over a lawn, chafing under the knowledge that we will have to do exactly the same thing next weekend. We have reached the lawn level of soil health on the garden areas around our home. Gone are the thistles, and in their place is pasture, self-seeded from the hay we spread over the mown thistles. Our problem then is converting a young lawn into a productive garden. I have come up with 4 possible solutions. Do nothing and continue to mow. This is less than ideal and ethically bankrupt. The second solution follows the thoughts of John Seymour and involves double digging the lawns and converting them to traditional organic gardens, and a lot of labour is involved in this. Solution 3 is inspired by Esther Deans and Bill Mollison and involves the creation of raised beds composed of the following layers: newspapers, loosened hay, oaten hay or straw. Into this brew I planted our veggies, trees and flowers, surrounded by a handful of compost to get them started. Eventually mulch will be converted into compost itself, and we'll have to top up the mulch layer each year. This has possibilities. I could still mow between the beds, having a push mower, We could spot snakes, reduce the lawn area, and not bend as far to tend to the gardens. The fourth solution is based on the ideas of Masanobu Fukuoka of the One Straw Revolution fame. The people before us had installed an above-ground swimming pool for the 2 days a year we experienced summer on the Monero. This had rotted and collapsed sometime before we moved in, leaving a circular bed with handmade brick edging, a sandy topsoil, and the local clay soil as a pan underneath. I decided to trial white clover on this circle, and it established itself quickly, leaving us with a small but very attractive clover circle. Fukuoka grows rice and barley in continuous succession in fields of white clover. The barley is broadcast just before the rice is ready to harvest, and vice versa for the rice sowing. No digging, and the clover suppresses most weeds. Into the little circle I broadcast cucurbit seeds for the summer. Within 2 days the seeds had started to swell and bury themselves. So of the 4 possibilities, we will be attempting the latter 2. Raised beds seem to offer the best hope for harmony of time and effort for reward. Converting the whole garden to white clover seems too much work at this stage, but may be worthwhile if the returns are good. Alternatively, I may just broadcast clover seed over the raised beds and obtain the best of both worlds. The importance of this hands-on decision-making at the grassroots level is that we have a stake in the future health of our own soil. We experience and develop a soil ethic at its most fundamental level. Poor soil management, bare and compacted soils, encourages weeds. Good soil management reduces the number of weeds, and food, real food, is returned to those who love their soil. The fruits of your own soil and your own labours taste so much better anyway. From our actions has come a bond with the soil, a feeling of kinship. That this feeling could develop so deeply within us over such a short time led me to a deeper understanding of the link between Indigenous people and their soils. So often I had heard them describe their soil as their brother or sister, and then one day I had that understanding. Not from reasoning, but from experiencing. Admittedly, one cannot achieve a 50,000-year-plus interaction and understanding with the backyard in one summer, but the possibility of such a link became believable. Go to it. Sell the lawnmower now before the value of those things collapses, as everywhere across this continent lawns are converted to gardens, drudgery replaced by enjoyment, and destruction displaced by growth.